Yeah, because Accessibility EU is 2.5 years on the road, and when we are talking about accessibility, what are we talking about? Well, let them explain. He has contributed to the elimination of barriers by promoting accessibility, focused solutions, and director of the European Accessibility Resource Center. And she is senior expert in disability of the European Commission and elected as member of the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disability. Together, there are strong forces to make accessibility a reality in Europe. Give them a very big, warm welcome, Jesus Hernandez Galan and Immaculada Plasencia Porero.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, there is it has been a long trip, Imma, to final here, and you have been working. The day before yesterday, you told in the European Banking Federation event, and that we celebrate the 1st of July. You told you started to work on the European Accessibility Act in 2010, if I remember well. Can you explain us how has been this trip? 15 years, and now we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Yes, I formally started working on the Act in 2010 when we managed to put it into the strategy, the second strategy, by the way, 2010-2020. Before the European Commission in '98 launched a strategy which was called from patients to citizens, based on also on the work that the Swedish were doing in that area at the time, '98. Now, I was just telling to Janice how each of us live history, and every person lives history from their own perspective. Mm-hmm. And he shared his. I'm going to share very briefly, because it has been a lot of years. I started working in '91 on research on assistive technologies, when there was no connection with mainstream accessible technology, when accessibility was not a priority, also not for disability organizations. I remember part of my time has been persecuting organizations, industry, users, to convince them, the organizations of persons with disabilities, the prioritization, because technology was coming. Let's talk that I'm talking from 91, when there was no internet. Many of you would not really realize it. When there was no graphical user interfaces. There were no mobile phones. There was no satellites at our disposal. So there were pioneers working on assistive technology, many research projects in Europe. But we were always struggling against the same thing. It didn't work with mainstream technologies, and we needed to go hand in hand with it. At that time, we started looking at what's happening around the world and who is doing better than Europe and who is advanced more already. And there were quite a number of champions in the US that I would like really to thank, because they really supported us in conceptualizing accessibility and advancing and giving the support. And I think it's really important in these times to recognize the good work of the US Access Board and international organizations such as W3C in pushing the agenda there, and in our hands working together in order to advance on accessibility. Then, the directive on 2078, Directive 2078 on equal treatment of employment, contain a very first reference to equipment, ICT equipment, in the context of reasonable accommodation. The 2008 directive on non-discrimination on access to goods and services contained, for the first time, an article on that put together accessibility and reasonable accommodation. But we need to work with the legal basis that we have, and that did not allow to go to regulate the market. So the idea of the European Accessibility Act came to go into more detail. Many European accessibility legislation in member states is based on aspirational provisions. Let's remove barriers. Let's avoid hindrance. Let's make sure access is possible. But that is difficult to concretize. This is something we learn quickly by talking to people and partnering with persons with disabilities and organizations that were telling us what was the problems that they were facing with the implementation of these acts. And that is why the act was really based on internal market and based on concrete functional requirements. Industry was very worried about innovation and the freedom to put new products even more accessible than the Act, and I always welcome that. So this is why also this functional approach is in the Act. Now, we have a big agenda ahead of us, because today in this is, last Saturday was the application date, very important date, but now the proof will come whether we will be successful or not. And I hope I am. I mean, I'm pretty sure I am, because I've seen the efforts already put by all kinds of stakeholders, organizations dealing with all the sectors covered on by the Act. And I'm sure also that there will be a spillover to other sectors which are not necessarily covered by the Act. But we are seeing the impact that it is having also around the world. But we need to work on the training, the capacity building, on the standards to facilitate the work, and of course on the enforcement, but also bringing capacity to those that need to do the enforcement. And that's why I'm so happy, sorry, I don't want to take more of the time, to have to be here with Jesus, because AccessibleEU is really complementing the work that the Commission is doing in order to do that training, that capacity building, and to create a community of practice. One of my worries was always the division that was in the accessibility fields between the experts on the built environment, experts on transport, and experts on ICT, when the three fields are really converging. So now also with my colleagues that are here, I'm really very happy to see them. As Ana Carla said, we need to invest in the next generations and make sure that we have competent and dedicated colleagues to advance. We are working on the enforcement, on the transposition, and I'm sure that we will succeed in the next steps of the Act. So, Jesus, sorry.
Okay, so we can say Ima is not an evangelist, she is the Messiah of the accessibility, I think. And it's a long trip from the break barriers to accessibility. And now we can see a video about what we are talking about. So, can you put the video, please?
On a purple background, a yellow line moves, forming a tangle, then rectangles, sawtooth shapes and waves until it becomes a straight horizontal line. Voiceover on top of text appearing on screen.
Working together to build a more accessible European Union requires communication that is equally accessible. Let's get started. What defines AccessibleEU? We are the facilitators, the ones who promote it, the ones who help make it possible. And there is a word that facilitates action, that allows you to do something. A word that, interestingly, is found in our very own brand, the suffix able or ible. It indicates the capacity to receive the action of the verb. BLE, bil.
The line creates illustrations.
Bil means tendency, aptitude, skill, or ability to do or be something. And this is our idea, BLE, bil. It defines the capacity we want to build to make things practicable, livable, suitable, workable, etc. BIL. It is the engine to ensure that people enjoy and participate in society with full rights and opportunities. Our call to action. BIL, and all communicated in a way that is relatable, understandable, approachable, reliable, agreeable, sensible. AccessibleEU. Let's make it accessible. More BIL and less blah blah.
AccessibleEU image posters and their placement in urban settings are shown. Their design is clean and clear. Each is split in two, contrasting inaccessible elements with their accessible versions. One shows stairs with the word unlivable, contrasted with a lift labelled livable. Another shows a toilet under unsuitable, next to an adapted toilet labelled suitable. The third shows a door with a Greek sign above it incomprehensible, next to it a door with pictograms for a mixed accessible toilet labelled comprehensible. The last poster features a jagged line under impossible, beside it the line is straight and horizontal, possible. The posters are displayed on building facades and in public transport stations. Voiceover on the text appearing on screen.
AccessibleEU. Let's make it accessible.
The AccessibleEU Centre logo is displayed.
Well, Jesus, great video, and has as it at its essence the concepts that form accessibility: flexibility, personalization, choice, control. But this shows part of the work that AccessibleEU has been doing. But AccessibleEU is a great investment supporting all this legal and policy work. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? Give us some figures about the results of AccessibleEU.
Yeah, the first figure is we have been working only 2 years and a half, and it seems a lot of time, but it's a short time. So AccessibleEU is just a baby. We are working very strong to be a very, very sustainable center and strong center. The first year we have to work to join all the national experts. Most of the national experts are here with us today, 34 national experts. I would like to ask to all the national experts present in the room and stand up or raise your hand. May you stand up to see our national expert, please? Stand up, please. Okay, this is our national expert from the 27 countries and our senior expert. So thank you very much for this big team. We are a dream team. We are around 50 people because you can see the people with the white shirt. They are working in the backstage to make everything stay in the place that they have to stay. So I ask you a big applause for the team in the back. Thank you so much. Some figures. Ana Carla and Inma has talked about the community of practices. 4,400 members at the moment now. There is the 400% of our initial goal. So we are getting a big community, or building a big community of practices. This demonstrates there are a lot of people in Europe interested in what are discussing in this community on practices and the information that we are sharing. The events, the training, the networking, the awareness events, awareness raising events, 215 events in 2 years and a half. Can you think this is possible in just 2 years and a half, 215 events, 46,000 professional trained in these 2 years. Maybe there is the biggest university in Europe on accessibility. There are universities that they don't have these figures, this number of students. 3 online courses, ICT, built environment, and transport. So I encourage all of you, if you want to enroll in one of these courses. There are very interesting courses, very useful courses, and we gave certificates, so you can show your professional capabilities or skills. 686 documents in the digital library, library references and good practices. This is the biggest library in Europe. Maybe no, it's the biggest library in Europe on accessibility. 7 guidelines, 3 studies and research, 30 indicators. This is our numbers, this is our activity. We think we work more than 8 hours per day, so these 2 years is really like 5 years working all together. So thank you so much, because this is because all of you are involved in our activity, and we are here to help, not to make, just to help. The organization that will have to make the accessibility reality is all the stakeholders that we are working with them, and we have an advisory board really, really big. For example, as a foundation, Fraunhofer Institute, Digital Europe, the International Association of Public Transport, the Center for Excellence in Universal Design, the International Association of Accessibility Professional, the Council of European Professional Informatic Societies, the European Banking Federation, International Union of Railways. So we are trying to join to our advisory board all the stakeholders that they are responsible to implement the accessibility. Thank you.
Bueno. No, great to see all the experts, many of which have been working for so long time on accessibility, and also to see the new generations of experts coming together. I mean, some of you would even remember the EDIN network when we tried to do something similar. I see there than some others. So yes, so part of our of the work of the impact that we hope that the Act is to go out of and have an impact outside the disability bubble. We know that this community is very committed, but what we know is really that unless accessibility goes mainstream, unless it is embraced by sectors far away today from the disability community, we will never achieve this objective of preventing and removing barriers for participation. And we see already some good steps in that direction, and the impact that accessibility is having. The Act is contributing, but there is also a lot happening around the world, no, Jesus? So I think we can show.
Yeah. We can show the recognition and the Forbes made list the 100 best on different sectors, and this year they start with the 100 best on accessibility, and Imma, our Messias, is there. Is there.
With many people, with 99, and you should have been there, I have to say.
So we can see the video from Forbes.
Hello, everybody. My name's Alan Schwartz. I was the assistant managing editor of Forbes, who spearheaded and executed the Accessibility 100 project. First of all, congratulations to everybody on the EAA. I know that was a lot of work and a long time coming. I wanted to give you an idea of the list. What it is the 100 biggest impact makers and innovators in the field of accessibility worldwide. And I have to give a shout out to the Zero Project for helping us make sure it had a worldwide feel. It ran on June 17th. It is, of course, on Forbes.com. The spirit behind it was not to highlight disabled people who are doing interesting things, which is, of course, what we do see a lot in the media. No. What this is the people making the biggest impact in the field of accessibility. And so it goes beyond wheelchairs, prosthetics, the things that the layman often thinks of. But we looked at education, sports, veterans, mobility, communication, AAC, of course, devices. And it really runs the gamut of the people and companies making the biggest impact on this world. I want everybody to know that it was done with the participation of the disabled community. This was not a without us type of project. I had a great advisory board. Once again, shout out to the Zero Project. And it really resonated, I have to say. It really resonated within the community, because I think that this really was the first time that a major media outlet treated the field as just another sector, an important sector, of course, but a real sector that addresses issues and challenges and products and needs in a part of society that has been, of course, long underserved. My personal interest in the subject is I have no particular connection to the disabled community. I just thought it was an interesting and, untapped, uncharted type of territory. And I've tried to make that a focus of my career. So, I think if you look at the package, which again is at Forbes.com, you'll see that we have not only the list of 100 companies and people. That would be boring. I and a colleague have written profiles of every single one of the 100 awardees, detailing their impact, what they are doing in their sector to change the world. And that, of course, is the highlight of the package, is you can learn about everybody. You, of course, will recognize some of the names, particularly those perhaps in the sector that you work in. But if you want to learn about accessibility in education because you're in the prosthetics world, or if you want to learn about AAC devices because you're in some other sector, I encourage you to look at each of the impact area pages that will detail folks in that area. Of course, feel free to look at all 11 of the impact area pages. So I don't know, I think I'm probably going long here, but I hope you sense the enthusiasm that we at Forbes have for this project. Yes, it is going to be done next year. I hope even perhaps bigger and better. But I want to thank everybody. I'm sure there are a lot of people watching this who helped, who did speak with me, and I'll see you next year.
Okay, this is just a flavor how it's permeating other areas of beyond the sector. Well, now is just to give you the floor to close. Maybe you can say a little bit to us how many people is connected, what is this conference about, but the intention is to really have covering the different areas, ICT, transport, built environment, and have some areas of applications like banking, telecommunications, and so forth and so forth. So, Jesus, thank you for organizing together with the team this, and I think we can enter into the different thematic sessions. But first, tell us about.
Yeah. We are going with the other panels. Just say this week we have more than 1,700 registration in the event of the accessibility to the banking services and today. So thank you very much for being here and enjoy the event. Thank you.